Some of you might go, wow, I think maybe I'm heading to burnout. I just hadn't seen the warning signs. I need to take action. Others of you are going, wow, I think I am burnout. That's why I've been feeling the way I have for so long. What do I do? How do I heal? How do I change this? So let me give you a series of pieces to this healing journey that I hope will be helpful. And just understand this takes time. You don't recover from burnout in a week or a month. This is a long journey. It took me years to recover. So begin with pausing and reflecting. So acknowledge the signs, the symptoms, the warning signs that you're burning out, but don't go to judgment. Don't go, oh, I'm a terrible person. Oh, I can't. Don't get down on yourself. Burnout is not a personal failure. Burnout is, I didn't get the tools and internal stuff I needed to handle life. Don't punish the child for what you're experiencing today. Secondly, identify stressors. So what is on the external causing me the most stress right now, that's using the most emotional energy, that's causing me to feel overwhelmed? Is it my job? Is it my relationship? Identify that. But then go to the underlying issues. What is this showing about my wounds, my trauma? What patterns am I seeing? What core issues are feeding into the way I'm responding to these external stressors? That's where I need to heal. That's where I need to learn healthy tools. Because if I just deal with external stressors, but I don't change that deep core stuff, I'll just be back where in the exact same spot a month from now. I gotta get to understand what are the core issues here. Let me emphasize again, the key attitude in healing from burnout is self-compassion. The old approach of I just need to push myself harder. I just need to be hard on myself. That's not going to work here. You have to flip that and become compassionate to yourself. I hope you see one of the biggest things to heal if you're going to ever deal with this whole burnout problem properly is your shame. Because so much of what drives burnout is shame issues. Heal your shame. And again, our course Lift spends so much time in helping people understand their shame and heal their shame. It is just such a core central issue. What you're then going to need to do is some very practical stuff, and you're not going to be able to do it unless you heal your shame. First is you're going to have to become really good at boundaries. So when I was coming out of burnout, what I began to realize is, why wasn't I setting boundaries as well as I should? Well, there was some bad teaching and there were some shame issues. So if I did not learn to set boundaries, I would just burn out again. That meant I needed to heal some shame issues and correct some bad teaching, but then I had to get really good at saying no. I had to get really good at figuring out what I could handle, what I couldn't handle, and setting boundaries to protect myself and keep myself safe. And that wasn't just activities, that was allowing people into my life. Certain people, no, sorry, can't come in. Certain people wanted deeper friendships. No, can't do that. Going to stay superficial friendship. All of that became so important. And so that, again, the false guilt is that bad teaching. I had to go back to confronting some of the lies that I was taught as truth that I had believed that set me up. And that took a lot of work. Next that I had to do was become an expert at mindfulness. So part of what happens when you're pushing yourself, when you're digging deeper, is you actually become unaware of your body sensations, a lot of your emotions. You disconnect in order to survive. Now you have to get good at connecting again. And I had to learn to spend time every day just, what am I feeling? What emotions are going on? What is the severity of those emotions? Is it a 1 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10? I had to begin to listen to my emotions, but listen to my body as well, and listen to the sensations that my body was experiencing, pain in my body. Then the next thing I had to do was I had to reevaluate my priorities. So I can't please everybody. Who then is the most important people that I please? What need to be the priorities of my life? Because I have limitations. I can't do everything. I am not Superman with a cape. I need X amount of sleep. I need to be in decent physical shape, because if I'm not, then a lot of my symptoms come back. I need a certain amount of downtime every day. Those are the priorities. I need to do things every day that feed my soul. I need to develop a routine and habits that meet my 12 needs. That has to be my priority, because what I realized is you can't pour water from an empty cup. If I don't take care of myself, I'm no good to anybody. I can't give to anybody. So a priority is I have to meet my own 12 needs, healthy self-care, healthy self-love, before I can love anybody else, before I can perform. So how do I have the balance to love self and love others? But how do I make that a priority? What does that look like? And that required a ton of thinking. What I also did in a very practical way is every time I got a request from somebody, would you do this for me? Would you come and speak at this? Often my initial response would want to be just say yes. Then everybody's happy, excited. But what I realized is if I did that, then often I get too busy again. Too much on my plate, get stressed out. So I just started saying, would you give me a couple of days to think about it, and I'll get back to you. That helped me so much. And then I would talk to somebody about it, like my wife or somebody that knew me well, and just say, I got asked to do this. I'm undecided. What are your thoughts? And get their feedback. So if I can just restate this, but I'm going to do it because it's so important. What I realized was my life is built on a foundation. And that is, if I don't get good sleep, everything falls apart. If I don't meet my 12 needs, everything falls apart. So I had to prioritize my physical, emotional needs that were so essential for everything else. It all was built on that. And so just realize that your self-care is this important foundation. Then it was very important for me to reach out for some help. I couldn't just solve this on my own. I needed friends, I needed family, I needed a therapist, I needed resources and books and videos to watch that just helped me to understand all that led to my burnout, tools for getting healthy again. Just take advantage of resources and get yourself plugged into key resources. Then it's really important to understand that there's been so much research that's developed in the last few years in this area. And so it's realizing that when a person is burnt out, often top-down approaches where you just learn new information, they have value, but they're not sufficient. You have to have some bottom-up approaches. You have to do activity-type therapy. So somatic therapy, polyvagal therapies, things that help calm your nervous system, rebalance your nervous system, get you into your parasympathetic nervous system, bring healing to your body that helps then heal your emotions. And we've done talks on all of these different types of therapies, but just begin to look into those type of somatic therapies that are very helpful for you. So it leads to one final question. And I get asked this all the time. Does a person who's burnt out ever fully recover? And I go, yes and no. So from my own experience, I recovered in the sense that I got stable again. I was able to be productive again. I was able to be what I wanted to be in many senses. But it's not that I'm 100% recovered. There's, I think, some permanent damage that has come out of that burnout experience. And part of what that is if I'm now in a stressful situation for too long, I just go downhill like really quick. All my old symptoms come back in a heartbeat. So I'm fragile. There's a fragility there. I'm vulnerable. I have limitations that I never had before. So I can still be stable and do really, really well. And so in a sense, I've recovered, but in a sense, there's been some permanent damage that I need to be aware of that now restricts me like I wasn't before. That is, to me, so important. So if a person doesn't pay attention to those limitations, to their fragility, to those restrictions, to how vulnerable they are, and they don't set healthy boundaries, they don't do healthy self-care, they start to push themselves again in too much stress, you're going to burn out again. And what concerns me is if you burn out a second time or a third time, you may not bounce back this time. Too much damage may be done. So this is not some light little thing we're playing with. This is not like I broke a bone, okay, everything's going to be back to normal. And if I break it again, yeah, well, I'll put a cast on and be back to normal again. No, each time greater and greater damage is done. So that's our look at burnout. I hope that helps you. I hope for those of you who are on the way to burnout, who are burned out, you do get some hope from this. You do get some insight into what caused it, where you need to focus your healing attention. It is possible to come out of it. And I would say that in coming out of the burnout in my own life, it has led to some good stuff that I never probably would have had unless I had gone through the burnout. So it can be, if you do it properly, it can turn into a positive, but it takes a lot of work and a lot of time.